Welcome to The Explainer. If you're studying for your architecture exams, you already know that context is one of those huge, kind of intimidating topics. Well, today we're going to break it all down. We're going to look at how to master contextual design so you can turn those tricky exam questions into easy points.
So let's just start with this one question, because it really gets to the heart of everything. What makes a building a good neighbor? It's not just about looking cool, right? It's about how it fits in, what it contributes, and how it respects the world around it. The answer to this is pretty much the key to everything we're talking about today. And to answer that question, we first have to totally shift how we think about context. It's not just the passive background for our buildings, it's not just wallpaper. We need to start seeing it as an active force, a powerful driver that literally shapes every single design decision we make. And right here is the first critical distinction you've got to get. There's analyzing context, and then there's responding to context. Analyzing is all about observation. It's you gathering data, seeing what's already there. But responding, that's about action. That's taking all that information and using it to make smart, informed design choices. One is looking, the other is doing.
So here's the bottom line. Context isn't just some checklist you fill out at the start of a project and then forget about. No way. It is a fundamental design tool that you use through the entire process. It tells you where the front door should go, how tall the building should be, even what kind of materials will feel right.
Okay, so this leads us to the first major strategic choice every architect has to face. Once you understand the context you're working in, you have to decide, what is this project's role going to be here? And it really comes down to this. Are you in a stable, established neighborhood, maybe a historic district, where your job is to reinforce that existing character? Or are you in an area that's changing, an area that's in flux, where your design should actually anticipate and help shape a future context? That decision, to match or to transform, is absolutely fundamental. Now, to make that decision correctly, you can't just, take a quick look around. You need to deconstruct the context, layer by layer. Think of it like you have this specialized architect's toolkit that lets you see all the different forces at play. All right, let's open up that toolkit. First up, the most obvious clues, the physical form of the place. We're talking about the typical building heights, the spacing between them, the rhythm of the windows and doors. Is there a clear pattern? Your design has to consciously decide, are we going to blend in with that rhythm, or are we going to establish a totally new one? Next, you got to zoom in to the human level, the experience on the street. How does your building feel from the sidewalk? We're looking for things like active, welcoming entrances that face the street and transparent ground floors that invite you to look in. It's all about engaging pedestrians and making the area more walkable. Because let's be real, a building that turns its back on the street creates a dead zone. And this is a perfect example of responding to a bigger urban context. With transit-oriented development, the transit system is the main context. So all your design decisions, like putting the main entrance near the train station or increasing density right there, it all works to reinforce and support that bigger system. It's just smart design. We also have to think about function, because not all streets are created equal, right? A smart design puts its active, public-facing parts on the main streets, and it tucks all the services, like loading docks and garage entrances, onto the quieter secondary streets. And please, for the love of all that is good, hide the parking. Putting it behind or below the building is so crucial for keeping that sidewalk experience alive. Okay, now for the invisible forces. Every single site has its own unique microclimate. Is there a ton of noise from a highway nearby? Glare bouncing off a glass building next door? Is there a weird wind tunnel effect? You have to respond to these things with your design, with acoustic buffering, with smart orientation to the sun, with landscaping. And finally, context isn't just physical. It's also about the cultural and economic fabric of a place. What are the local building traditions or materials that give an area its unique character? What are the economic realities that are driving development? A design that ignores these powerful undercurrents is just going to feel disconnected, and frankly, it's setting itself up to fail. So, you've used your toolkit. You've analyzed the physical, the functional, the environmental, and the cultural layers of your site. Now what? How does all of this raw information actually become a building? This is where it all comes together. This is where the magic happens. Your analysis directly informs your design. It tells you exactly where to place the building on the site, where the entrances should be, how to step back the massing so it doesn't overwhelm its neighbors, and what materials will feel like they belong there. It's a logical translation of observation into creation. Okay, I need your full attention for this next part because it might be the most important thing we talk about today. Let's talk about the NCRB exam filter. What I mean is how the exam wants you to think about context, which, believe me, can be a little different from how it works in the real world. I want you to burn this sentence into your brain. In the real world, an architect can be a visionary, a rebel who intentionally challenges the status quo. But on the exam, nope. On the exam, you are a good citizen. Your primary job is to show that you can work respectfully with the conditions you're given.
This slide just breaks down that difference so perfectly. In practice, your attitude can be contrarian. On the exam, it must be deferential. In practice, your primary goal might be your artistic vision. On the exam, your primary goal is always protecting public welfare. And here's the big one. In the real world, you might break from the context for aesthetic reasons. On the exam, you only do that if the question explicitly tells you to.
Think of these as the unwritten rules for every single context question you're going to face. The exam gives you context for a reason. It wants to see you use it. Always default to that deferential, good citizen approach. Prioritize fitting in and protecting the public. That is the safe and the correct path to the right answer.
So at the end of the day, what's the formula for success on the exam? It's right here. You have to show you have an awareness of the context, show you have respect for what's already there, and then show your logical translation of that into your design. If you can do those three things, you'll have the answer to our very first question. You're not just designing a building, you're designing a good neighbor.